You start off soaring through a vast city landscape. The traffic's as slammed as the overpacked streets. The countless blank faces walk silently through the masses. When up through the clouds, gliding on a flying carpet, our happy hero flips around the untangible terrain, screaming his heart's content. Meanwhile, high in the ribbon paths of Shangri-La, Thor and Ganesh, the elephant sultan, gaze through the golden ring of life. Who is that boy? I hear he is the self-appointed high knight to those land of beginnings. Another Hercules, if I'm not mistaken. I'm probably the blood of I'm probably the blood of a god. Does not reside in the possible the blood of a god does not reside in that boy. Then a voice slithered in with the smoke. I hear he's the incarnation of the fourth halo. The two children turned to find Hades standing there. Thor's eyes shook back to Ganesh. Is this true? Ganesh sat there as Hades puffed away. Just as I've heard. Thor's eyes turned dark, and the thought of a simple fusion obtaining the sacred fourth halo. The sun was so bright, the air cooled, sent chills down Nathan's spine. The past weeks been so hectic. If he didn't escape now, he might never. So he sprang for it. And do you blame him? Have you ever wanted one moment of peace? But like all good things, the glare sliced through his eyes. Sir, the captain's been calling you for an hour. Huh, I've only been here for a half, he thought to himself. Sir, are you listening? Nathan turned to the little metallic robot and said, Yeah, I hear you. Well, the turds just hit the fan. He followed Icarus's golden foot wings through high up into the endless blue sky. Nathan, blue sky towards the vast cumulus clouds. High ahead, they broke the summit. Icarus darted into the remaining tasks. Hey, where? The observation deck, of course, not even turning around. The mountainous clouds burst into a vast lush green. He sped through the trees, not caring in the world. Carpet's a superb pilot. Besides, Nathan wouldn't let anything bad happen. Unfortunately, his blank coincidence was caused to his default. He had never seen the quiet pink girl launch out in her steel-toed combat boots, kicking him right in the head. He flew right off the carpet, slamming right into a tree, flipping along the ground himself, flipping along, catching himself in a three-point landing. Nathan rubbed his head. Wow, you're getting pretty good at that. But how could you change your shoes? That one could have hurt. Looking down at her boots, she gave him an accusing stare, like he doesn't know her better than that. Shaking her head, she darted back into the darkness. Nathan grinned, same as always. Ziggy lit a tune armor away, leaving his tank top and sweats, continuing on his way. The floating island was magnificent, but he always thought the inner palace was a little over extravagant. As he beamed, teleported his way inside. Her Majesty, the captain was diligently awaiting his presence. The entire palace consisted mainly of living quarters and training simulators, but the observation deck made it all worth it. Where have you been? Activating a number of hollow screens as she continued. Don't you know how, don't you know toy makers out defeating an erupting volcano? Nathan watched as she screamed at his shield droids into blah, blah, blah. Nathan watched the toy maker screaming, putting shield droids into the proper position. I have Bomb Boy and Price stopping more of those damn bugs, and there's been a lot of them lately, hasn't there? May I, he said back, may I have a look into that personally? She shot him a dissatisfied glance. She didn't like being interrupted. Yes, I believe that's the fifth attack this week. Seeing he wasn't paying attention, she slammed her hand on the Globex. I even found Ubu I even have Ubu out with Gizmo, going somewhere or other. And you pick now of all times, going off gallivanting about. So he shrugged his shoulders. No answer would calm her, and he is the boss in any case. Just let her go. It didn't take long for the toy maker to sail over the horizon and beam inside, cursing under his breath. His droids all banged up, not even acknowledging their existence. He stormed into his lab. Seeing his master in such a state, Icarus flew in, shifting as needed and beginning repairs on the replicator bots. Not saying a word. The last time we spoke first, he didn't hear the end of it for a month. The toy maker's complaining was legendary. Icarus came over. Why don't you go power down? I can handle this. Shifting his arms and legs back, he flew out, power down. It must have been a busy day. Everyone knows Icarus has a power converter and never needs to recharge. Oh, he probably just wants some quiet. Too bad he doesn't know where Rope and Carpet got off to. The only other bots with AI curiosity, the circuitry. What lightning streaks? What? Lightning streaks across the sky. What do you mean? The Jins are breaching the barrier? Zeus screamed across the riven paths of Wonderland. Ganesh stepped forward. I believe they're rewiring insects, the human subconscious. The Jins can only corrupt behavior. Apophis and Zeus looked at each other. So, why now? Turning to Apophis, Ganesh, well, raising his voice, he went. I've been watching the netherworlds and relieved only the dark and no, relieved only the dark shins and believe only the dark shins are advancing, corrupting, mutilating, destruction. In my opinion, I feel someone is after the third halo. The gods fell silent for a long second as the three high deities whispered to himself, Anubis! Where the hell is Anubis? Apollo, Ra, retrieve him now. But as they lifted off, a voice called out. He floated past the congregation. Odin stood up. If the Apochaos is awakened, even our existence may crash. Go retrieve the the tank armor assassin. Nothing can crack the second Halo skin. Back on Fantasia, Price was playing his favorite game, shooting at myths, the special little animals native to the floating island. Despite his toon armor disguise, all the knights were good and he would never actually hit one. But that didn't stop a certain few from firing back. They all picked up punts, as if the Nichu rat wasn't bad enough. The Luck Dragon and the Cheshire Cat could do some real damage. It didn't bother him. The knights were trained to handle any problem. On the other hand, he only kept an eye out for that damn mind mage who had a tendency to hurt him, although no one else had ever seen it, or believed him for that matter, thinking the cat got him or something equally as funny. But it's very real, either throwing him into the center pyramid in the edge of the island in the center of the island. How rude. Price flung his two cannons at the voice. Damn it, Icarus, I could have wasted you. Icarus looked at the guns and smiled. Not likely on my master's prize piece. Not able to take any more, Nathan stuck out when the captain wasn't looking. If I don't deserve a day off, I feel sorry for everyone else. He slowly walked through the valley, following the stream, tunes singing in his head. He loved looking at the mountains towards the far east. The palace was always so busy to live in. He figured he's going to act like a superhero. He needed a way swagger cool pad. He built a mansion waving through 6 enormous oak trees. But as he approached the steps, he found 2-foot silver egg with a particular symbol on it. Noticing there was no one around, he knelt down, scratching his head. Lucky for him, the captain hired the most ingenious man on the planet. Not far off, somewhere in the Amazon rainforest, Ubu and Gizmo were backtracking a small band of bugs. Gizmo only stumbled across. He couldn't understand why they were here. Pointless. Damn it, Giz. I'm tired of chasing these things around the entire planet. We have to find something. The glowing fairy bounced in agreement, not being able to verbally communicate. We've been here for hours. There has to be something we're missing. He screamed. Gizmo ducked back. He looked where he looked. He knew there was something here. The bugs typically travel in large swarms, causing a lot of damage. But there was nothing here besides trees and dirt. Yet Giz goes and finds a small group of about 12 or so. Why? As he was about to call it a quits, Gizmo shot back, moving erratically. What? Gizmo moved slowly down. Okay. Now in a whisper. What is it? He followed it off to the path of the tree line. Through the mist were dozens of buggers. Ubu ducked behind a bush and watched as they were not destroying, but they were more like digging into an unmapped temple. Now Ubu didn't know what was in there, but there was no way he was gonna let them have it. Come, come on, the cat needs to hear about this. Nathan found the toy maker back with her benevolence, the captain, who only offered an obscure look. Then, before having to say a word, the toy maker leaped to the edge, searching through different settings on his eyepiece. What do we have here? Moving closer. I was hoping you could tell me. It was just sitting on my steps. What? An intruder? Impossible, the captain blurted. Maybe that's where it was. And before they could say another word, the toy maker pressed the center of the broken symbol on the orange glowing on the or and an orange glow began to pulse out, blasting the palace roof. There, high in the palace roof, like there was no roof at all. Although the other two stepped back, the tinker only gave a few quick eye settings and returned to the device. High above, the pulse circled and solidified a golden ring with god four gods leering down. They looked like children. Zeus, Apophis, Tau, and Gishnu. Of course, uh, being the brains of and Gishnu being the brains of the outfit. Noble High Knight, we have a terrible warning for you in your land of beginnings. You must stop the Jinn before they crack the third halo. Nathan stepped forward, more confused. More confused than you'd believe. What? But before they could explain further, the captain interjected. What are completely what are these jinns? Natives of the netherworld, invading your insect population. Now Nathan wasn't a complete incompetent and recognized most of the young deities. If this is such a problem, why not make them disappear? We are unable to interfere, but if you fail, Shangri-La will be next. The balance will crumble. The toy maker looking positively pissed off. So what does it do? I still hardwired to the silver egg. Do not worry, he will activate when the time is right. The toy maker nearly shit. Now remember, High Knight, only the lower jinns have broken the barrier. Things may become a bit more difficult, and the golden ring dispersed. Damn, echoing through the inner chambers. I hate that damn mind mage. It's like haunting my dreams. So then why don't you stop complaining and do something about it? Price looked over to Bomb Boy with a dissatisfied look. Hit him. A trap? Sure. I'll throw a few bombs, causing a big commotion, and you wait for the little bugger. Good. The toy maker will have something lying around. I want to know. I want it to know that I captured it. Bomb Boy lifted an explosive he was working on. As simple as sprung. The timer pops, shaking it off. Price closes it with a devious grin. It doesn't take long to return to Fantasia, no matter where you are on the planet. Ubu's boat soaring over the mountains. Him and Gizmo beaming, teleporting inside, and begin searching for the captain. Fortunately for Ubu and Gizmo, Unfortunately, Ubu and Gizmo has a brain for activity and active locator. Captain, we have some interesting news. Go ahead, Giz. What you waiting for? The little fairy burst into a hollow image and shown her the temple. The captain got close to the screen. I don't recognize these markings. Where were you? Belize? Brazil? Right. Ubu never seen such a strange look on the captain's face before. Gizmo, go find Icarus. I want both of you to get some answers. Turning to him, as fast as you can move, and it was gone. The day was beginning to wind down, and a crisp chill filled the air. And as usual, the quiet little pink punk girl sat on the tri-pyramid watching the sunset. The Cheshire cat purred at her legs. Why don't you go inside? It's getting awfully cold out. So she scratched his head and smiled, although she'd never admit it. This was her favorite time. The hums from the boats were dying down, and the sun's reflection glimpsed off the springs like a secret jewel. No, no, no. Hearing this, she fell back to see what all the fuss was about. There, the luck dragon and carpet soared up, and as carpet wrapped around her, he felt he held out his claw. He created a ball of fire. As carpet wrapped around her, the luck dragon pulled out a claw and created a ball of fire, moving it close to her. Why do you make it a point to catch cold? But then something new began to happen. The hieroglyphs on the pyramid began to glow. Wah, 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 wah. All types of myths scrambled out of the bush. Wah, wah, wah. Bomboy might not be fast, but he knew how to strategically throw a bomb, so he didn't have to be some strong myth attacker, to give the weaker a chance to escape. This menace, Price sat in complete silence, trigger in hand, ready to press, when out of the shadows the mind mage glowing dot's eyes appeared, raising its hands up. A beautiful melody increased. You're mine, all right. That's when Price noticed the dots were now on him, and hand he pressed it, but it was too late. They were both flung into oblivion, and the mage fainted. If it wasn't for Carpet, the trap might have succeeded. Luckily, the Toon very durable, armor's very durable, and the path through the trunks of the trees didn't do all that much. Besides spit and polish. You could fix it with spit and polish. Icarus and Gizmo spent most of the night examining the hieroglyphs. I've never seen anything like this. Yes, it appears to be a genuine mathematical language. Gizmo continuously flipping colors, scanning it. Yes, by the looks of it, I'd say it's some type of cage floating up. Icarus noticed a brick unflush with the wall. Now, what do we have here? Seeing this, Gizmo floated in towards him. I don't detect any lock mechanism. Right. As he slid back a number of feet, as soon as he closed his eyes, he exploded with spectral energy. The entire compound became clear. every lock, every gear, every passage. It doesn't appear to be wired in. So he pressed it. Everything went dark. Gizmo fell out. Even Icarus' circuits fluctuated, but his AI stood firm. What is this? Hundreds of gods streaked across the sky, crashing storms of energy, slashed towards four impenetrable creatures. Odin, raising his axe, clashes the rock beast as Ares is screaming, "No word, my brethren, onward! Oh, onward, my brethren, onward!" The fiery lava mammoth continuously spitting fire, clearing enormous paths through the defenders, the sand serpent flipping dozens of twisters all around, intertwined in their eyes, scratching storms. The tree animal thing crushed the roots through the soil, snatching at any movement. It was a vicious slashing. He brought them down, all as the shining black spiral whirled, willed its surroundings clear as he sent wave after wave through the young deities. Hardwired to the silver. Wait a second. Hardwired to the silver egg. Why don't he well activate the toy maker? The small robot never experienced such a display. The Titans were untouchable. The gods simply scattered from one to the next. Icarus wasn't quite sure how long this vision lasted, but, but eventually the Titans were captured, chained, and removed, them to impenetrable prisons. Kronos desperately willed the growing group away until the final blow streaked down from Zeus. As Icarus watched the Earth blur back to clarity, Gizmo flicked back into life. Time, searching, searching. Enough, enough of that. We have seen. We have to enough of that. We have to see the captain. It was quite an unusual turn of events for the team to have even a moment of silence, let alone an entire day. The captain had to activate the Globex a number of times to make sure they were still floating over the earth and not spinning off into the sun. All in all, it was a welcome change. They were worn down and needed a rest. They quietly lounged about, mainly in the padded room, because you had to be crazy to be caught in there during work hours. Plus, of course, the hundreds of pillows that are packed in. Eventually, the captain even deactivated her toon armor, which never happens. She stayed relatively silent. What would cause the bugs to just die down to nothing? She only knew it wasn't a good thing. Only the gods knew where Nathan scattered off to. Bombboy and Price were in recovery, and now accompanied by two other bots. The toy maker continued his camaraderie. After a look around the room, the captain placed her hand on her head with a sigh of relief and laid back, just in time for Ubu to crash into her couch. "I don't trust this, Captain." "Yes, I agree. There's definitely something afoot." Ubu smiled, lifting his foot to his nose. Huh, my feet don't stink. And yet, before she could, Icarus and Gizmo slashed through the doors. Captains, we have a big problem. After finding out about the temple, Nathan decided to do some investigating on his own. You know, lose loose ends and all. It didn't take long to arrive. He flies faster than carpet and the boats, missing the two bots only for a few minutes, losing the bots for only a few minutes. As he landed, he ziggied into his toon armor and found the door, giving it a good swift kick, followed only by a rumble of the impact. Well, you're a stubborn one, aren't you? It actually took a few strikes before he cleared the entrance. It was dark, and a thick moldy spell he escaped for, for all it was worth. He lit a torch and began gliding down the long corridor. You can never tell where a booby trap will pop up. That's why he floated. The palace was so clean, not a spider web, dust, or even writing on the walls. Only smooth and cold. The hall turned into a vast room, so deep it couldn't see the walls. He continued about for a while, until he found something. It looked like a ball of moldy rubbish, yet as the night moved closer in, as he moved in for a closer look, it absorbed the torch, sprang to life. It moved dozens of snakes tied in knots into two monstrous eyes. They opened, but not eyes of a vicious creature, a scared, confused being, lost. It's okay, in a low voice. You're free. Although there was another pause, the mammoth made its way to its feet, and even out the door, a very long time, of course, after a very long time, of course. But as the sunlight stuck in the Titan, but as the sunlight struck in the Titan, it shot to 13 feet tall. Nathan watched the color return to its leaves and fur and the life returned to its body. It didn't seem vicious enough to be put in such a place. It didn't take long for Icarus to play the recording, and soon as the captain was about to speak, the toy maker called out my word, stumbling backwards. The simple silver egg began to crack. What in heaven's name did you do? The maker glanced an astonishing look at her. It wasn't me. With a flash, an orange silicone blasted outward. Although on guard, the knights stood silently as they watched it form into an orange man with golden bracelets and anklets. It looked forward, finding the tiny metallic robot. Are you saying the Jins are after the Titans? Icarus looked to the captain first. All I know is, well, what I've seen. They were digging. The incarnation found an empty room, tapped his necklace, and the gold rings appeared over his head. My lords, we have had an unexpected turn of events. Zeus and Apophis gazed down as the Tenkanutsu explained the situation. How could Jins know the location of the Titans? Odin appeared as unfriendly as usual. I am I am unsure at this time, but I seem to have stumbled upon the first halo. Excellent. If you're right, you should be good in good hands, even if the fourth halo remains locked. It was strange. For 2 days they sat at the temple the Tekenutsu sent them to, but there was no bugs, no sign of digging, just a metal and stone tower. The captain knew the Titans were significant keys to this unseen plan. So why cut off entirely? It couldn't be because we know, so they must be stalling, waiting for us to be off our guard. Yet they could never guess what was going on right under their noses. Swarms of bugs raided Fantasia's gates. Any myth that could fly used the cover of darkness leered over the path. They were no match for the impending army. Even with the help of the mind maze, it only took 6 hours to consume the floating island. When Nathan and the Nature Titan arrived hours later, they found a wasteland sprawled out before them. Only the tripod standing firmly in the center, and a small group of myths hiding along the fallen wreckage. So this is the beautiful paradise where I can remain hidden? The High Knot was not amused, and he beamed and teleported inside. Luckily, that was the only way inside, and it remained untouched. Where? What would have caused them to abandon the palace? It doesn't make sense. They made their way to the toy maker's lab, Nathan now scratching his head. Damn it, Icarus, get your ass in here, he shouted. Yes, master. Oh, sir, I thought you were... What are you do? What's going on around here? Where did everyone go? How could my knights be overwhelmed? Would anybody give me a straight answer, damn it? Sir, the Jins. How did those bugs find my home, let alone our stronghold? Sorry, sir, but I'm not quite sure. Perhaps they followed a boat back here. Turning away, Nathan fell silent. I'm tired of this. If anyone has a way to contact the gods, the toy maker does. So I know you're listening. Answer me now. Then, with a flash of light, the gods appeared over his head. Why didn't you warn us? How could you just stand by and let these things destroy my home? And yet you expected us to save yours? You don't understand. We have no power in the third dimension. We simply must rely on our influence. You didn't say a word. Taking a step back, Nathan took a deep breath. Are you my friends? Okay. Or is it there's something else you disregarded to tell me? No, your friends are fine. We can sense the Titan's essence. They are still confined in the tombs. There they will remain. We do not have time to discuss such trivial matters. Apothis now ignoring the portal. We must find who is after the third halo. Who will find who's after the fourth halo as the golden ring vanished. Icarus could tell they were on the Icarus could tell Nathan was on the verge of literally exploding and turned to the shock nearly smashed him into the wall. How could he have missed it? Missed the Titan right in his vicinity. But before he inquired, Nathan interrupted. Where's the quiet punk girl? Punk girl. Carpet and Rose darted through the air to warn the captain of their friend's abduction. If anyone could her, save her, she could. On the other hand, the knights were bored beyond belief. They couldn't understand why they had to watch some old rocks. Maybe the captain's just giving them a small vacation. Even the captain was growing weary of waiting. She lost track of the days and realized all she knew was there wasn't a single bug sighting. Perhaps perhaps Goo Boy was mistaken. Probably luckily for her, Carpet and Rope were there were no rustle they were there to rustle things up. Jumping on Carpet's back and knowing it would never steer wrong, they darted to the undisclosed location disturbance. They flew like lightning, and as they approached the prison, her identiwatch began showing the young girl's signal. Terror struck her. Why take the child? What happened to Fantasia? What was Nathan going to say? Then the rage hit like a wrecking ball. Rope, you find a way in as Carpet and I spray the black flag and tore through the bugs and they tore through the bugs like paper shredder. Unfortunately, Rope wasn't doing well. Damn it, she screamed. We need to get that poor girl out of there. Fast. I may have an idea. What am I missing? Gish knew, holding his head in frustration, and looked towards Tao. Why would anyone want to unlock the third Halo? Huh, to destroy Shangri-La, of course. No, it can't be so simple, or else they would have. There has to be more. And it finally dawned on them. Nathan. Ganishnu turned away and began mumbling to himself. So then, who? Ares? Shindo? Odin? Who knows who might be? Right, who knows who might be at stake? Like pride. Yes, maybe there isn't much time. The planets have almost reached their proper venues. The eclipse is only 11 hours away. The planet began to rumble. The knights looked frantically over the invaders, but to no avail. Then, as if simultaneously, the temples cracked open. The titans, too, under their purpose. They seized their predicament. Gizmo and Ubu got the pleasure of the Sand Titan. Bomboy and Price got to handle the Water Titan, leaving the Toy Maker and his bots to the Lava Titan. Why am I always stuck with the fucking fire? Causing the beast to pause for a moment in fear. Looking close, the knights discovered dozens of incarnations covering their foes. Are you telling me the Jins gave up on the bugs and decided to just enter the Titans personally? Oh yeah, we're in a whole lot of trouble. The sun was high above as Carpet and Rope arrived back at Fantasia. They sat in awe at the sight of their paradise. They sat in awe at the sight of their paradise, dazed to oblivion. Then, as only began, as they began forward, "Hey, Carpet, how are we supposed to get in?" The captain said, "Get the whole droid. Get the whole droid from the toy maker's lab." Rope sat there for a second, allowing this to dawn on his camera. Oh, great, Captain spat out. What a time for a captain to skip a beat. I've trekked the entire ventilation network. Even the whole thing self-contained. There's no way in. and you wait till now to bring it up? They wiped around the entire underbelly of the floating island, hoping for a secret escape port, to no avail. The fire marshal would have had a field day if he ever showed up. The boats were so badly damaged that nothing worked, let alone a transporter. But now the myths had begun to wander around their once beautiful home. Cap, carpet, and rope noticed most clumped up around the tri-pyramid and decided to investigate. And lo and behold, as they arrived, sitting up on top all alone, was the Cheshire Cat, almost too silent to ever be noticed. Cheshire, we need your help. They looked toward them. No, but we need to get in the palace. No, that's not my concern, in a terribly vicious voice. But it's the only way we can save her. The cat's eyes dropped. What do you need? Slowly but surely, the Titans were on their way. The knights did little more than annoy the massive creatures, like two mosquitoes buzzing around your ear. And that was using every trick in the book. They fought to simply they fought to simply stay clear of the random blasts the Titans spit back. Funny thing is, no one knight noticed the golden ring high above. It seemed Seti, Hades, and Beelzebub were having a field day. Ha 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 ha! Those fools are already overwhelmed. And the third halo isn't even unlocked yet. Ha 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 ha! I suppose it's a good day to be a bad god. Meanwhile, Nathan and the Nature Titan worked their way to assist their friends before the problem got out of control. His mind wouldn't stop racing, and sure, he was glad to have the Titan's help, but how strong is it? Isn't int isn't it that much farther? It isn't that much farther. I can sense the battle, as can I, but they're all free, and the beast railed off. Are you able to sense which Titan's ahead? Hey, are you listening? Nathan turned back and realized the Titan was quite a ways back. Shit, he better not be tired already. Soaring in to see what the problem was. As he approached, he caught the look in his eyes. Once a friend's eyes, now black and coarse. It was vicious. It was vicious. Roots shot up from below, grabbing his arms and legs as the Titan sprung forward, slashing with its claws. The High Knight shattered the vines that chained him, slipping to the side. This was not the same friend from a moment earlier, and Nathan learned as he flipped about, being finally caught by one of the attacks. He couldn't hold back. Lucky for him, the Titan wasn't all that fast, and he was able to land three powerful blows that only dazed the mammoth for a moment. My God, he thought of his friends up against such powerful, terrifying creatures. They are ... dot dot dot. Although most of the knights realized ahead of the battle was futile and began targeting the landscape to slow the monsters, the toy maker was going through more shield droids than the replicators could replace. This hit him harder than the Titans ever could. Seeing the carnage, the Tekanutsu took speed to engage. There was fire and lava soaring everywhere. The heat was so high it burned his eyes, and as a cannonball of flames soared to him, He had to open his silicone stomach or fry. Not slowing for a moment, he tore off his necklace as a golden armor grew over him, wiping it into a long bow blade. Slash, throwing the beast into the disposal. It didn't take long for the Titan to pull itself together. This continued for quite a while. They were holding it off. It, if just to dose, if just one dose arrived on time, the door wouldn't open. If just one does arrive on time, the door won't open. Then out of nowhere, an incredible blast of electricity crashed into their backs. Now, back at the palace, the small band had reached the toymaker's lab and found the Holbot, but unfortunately had no idea how to activate it. Most of the droids were voice recognition, and the only one who could bypass it was Icarus. Or, with the battle still underway, the toymaker nearly blew a fuse. His eyes pierced began beeping. What? My apologies, Master, but the captain requested use of the Holbot. Simple, isn't it? And with the instructions in his mind, the bot's hand began to glow, pushing through time and space until they could see their captain trying to get the punk girl out. So as the bot split into two and stabilized the wormhole, they jumped through, knowing the bot to become one again and turn the rift into the cell, allowing the girl to escape. Excellent work, you two. The quiet punk girl jumped through, finding the Cheshire Cat. How did you find me? Rope and carpet just came to me. Oh, she talks in her head and psychically, and things hear her. Rope and carpet just came to me. There's no time for this. The captain interjected. My knights are being massacred. Where's the closest Titan? The droid stabilized and found Gizmo and Ubu being knocked around like ragdolls. The sand serpent sent volleys of tornadoes thrashing through its prey as it slowly made its way. It had complete control of the captain, but the captain wasn't going to stand for it. She jumped onto carpet and retrieved Ubu. With all the commotion back at their floating island, the tri-pyramid began to glow, allowing the mind maze to break free, and Gizmo and the help. Cheshire Cat helped, they began to contain the serpent. With the lightning crashing in the background, a truly ominous view was set. Crash! Thor slammed his hammer into the Tekanutsu, sending him soaring far into Bomb Boy, who in turn nearly dropped one of his bombs and damn near blew himself away. Not paying the toy maker much attention and continuing the assault on the Tenknutsu, Thor looked up as the moon slid over the face of the sun, and with the Titans now in view, a terrible smile reached his face. It's time, and ran into the center of the four Titans. One by one, the incantations ripped off the beasts, streaking towards the god summoner. With the moon fully encased in the sun, time stopped. An enormous Arabian palace seeped in through the shadows, like Hades' gown. The Tekanutsu was first to crack free, using his true form, becoming a hooved golden linked jester. made of nothing but rings, able to transform into almost anything. He had to crack the fourth shell before the Jins brought him to full power. Yet before he could spring into action, whoom, whoom, the space around the shell bent, and all around merged to the Apocalypse, the third halo. As the space bubbled back, as the space bubbled back, it sent the Tekanutsu back a few feet. Anyone else would have split into steam. It split at the seams. The podcast didn't even have to move as the second halo slashed its blades and watched it bend around him. Lifting one hand, 3 floating orbs on his chest began to glow, sending a massive energy blast that annoyed at the annoyance. Seeing it coming, the halo flipped its bow around and dispelled the blast. Went from the distance. ... My word, Zeus thundered out of his seat. The Hell God is activated. All the gods swarmed around. Lenses, leaving the ribbon paths of Wonderland barren. Never has Shangri-La been so desolate. On the other hand, never has a Husian breached the godhood, being able to enter the ranks of the deities. Nathan became as water, with black spiked armor, and his arms and legs, and his face smiled in the same brown fabric as his pants, legs. Electricity streaked around him, like in Atlantis. Get back! The Tekanutsu looked and jumped away as ordered. Then the self-made wormhole. He punched in the dark demon right in the head. The Pakeas shook it off in time to be caught with a vicious assault from a good 50 feet away. The third halo exploded in rage, shattering both time and space around the Hell God, causing Nathan to completely miss the bend, slowing curse crushing around him, and before he knew it, the fourth halo was engulfing his rival, sending him mad in the darkness. And the third halo, sending him in the darkness, and although still spinning, Nathan caught his bearings and wormholed out. The Apocalypse never expected the speed of his escape or the magnitude of the energy wave now overcoming him. Seeing this was getting him nowhere, the Tenkanutsu countered his attack, and yet somehow the third halo held them at bay. Not far off, the first halo's chest exploded into spectral energy and flashed as he spoke. Sir, you can't hold back. You're stronger than that. But Nathan was giving it all he had. Then before he could speak again, a melody caught his serene and found the mind mage powering up for an attack. Then with a screech, she blasted for counter. She blasted for all she was worth. The unready halo fell forward in pain. It screamed, crushing a counterattack back at her. The Hell God's eyes turned black, spitting into multiple shining dots. He began thrashing into unstable white energy. His once golden locks were now being cut short as the green leaf crown around the back of his head appeared. He began banging on his chest like a mad monkey, Laughing wildly, all the Halo's attention was thrown to the fourth Halo, the fourth other half, and with a single smile, the Hell God smashed the Apocalypse with a Mack truck, then backed over him again, laughing his ass off. Then, while playing a piano, falling from the sky, crashed right into the dazed demon, as a crowd of smaller Hell Gods clapped and cheered as another group playing a marching band was passing by. The podcast was so damned it actually began swinging back and forth. So dazed, it began swimming back and forth. Now roughly 10 feet apart, the third Halo noticed the fourth was ready to throw an anvil, and actually cringed, but came on Nathan not that mean. But come on, Nathan's not that mean. But as the Hell God dropped it, it crushed his rival's head. Ha ha ha, this is over. He charged the abomination, diving right in, and with a ripping flash, the fourth Halo stood in front of a chalkboard that the apocalypse had became. It was filled full of the apocalypse's face and zeros. So one by one began erasing the face codes, and soon moved on to the zeros until finally the board was empty and the apocalypse was defeated. As the moon cleared way, the sun began to shine, and all was good. Nathan was unconscious, turning back into his original form. But it didn't matter, because all his friends were there to pick him up until they turned to find the four Titans still standing there. The knights jumped back into their toon armors. No, no, stop, Icarus charged in. It's okay, they're harmless. Realizing they looked into their eyes were different, and they drew back. You know, the Nature Titan spoke up. I can fix your island for some extra privileges. The end. Ubulu's a black creature with his toon armor. It goes totally black with two antennae coming down, hanging in front of his face, with Arabian pants. The toy maker looks like the Sultan. Who's the fairy? The High Knight goes flying around. He even wears a... Oh, I lost the cartoons. I would have shown you all the pictures. The one I lost had one of those umbrella hats with yellow pants and metal vest with a metal chain mask. But then he turns into, when he becomes the Hell God and wakes up as the fourth Halo, he turns into the blue creature that was dressed like I said, before he goes into the second half of it, where it becomes like an actual cartoon and becomes totally white electricity. I wish I still had the pictures. I can't believe I didn't. That's why I didn't have to describe them more.